All right. Well, first of all, thank you for joining this Twitch stream. What we're going to be doing today is cloning the JAMstack CMS GitHub repo, deploying a new version of the CMS, walking through it, looking at how it works. We're going to then deploy that to a CI/CD hosting platform. We're going to configure webhooks, and that's going to be about it. So I'm thinking this should last 20 to 30 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. So I'm just in a basic empty directory here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and clone the CMS project. And I'm going to basically be walking through the steps listed here. So I'm going to be going to deploy the CMS. I've already installed this global here. So I'll go ahead to git clone, and I'll go ahead and clone this repo here. Next, we're going to go ahead and change into that directory. And we're going to go ahead and install the dependencies with Yarn. And it is important that you use Yarn for this project at this point. I have a yarn.lock file, and there's some dependencies that I haven't gotten quite working properly with NPM. I think we have a release on Amplify that's going to actually fix that very soon, but for now, it's locked in with the yarn.lock file. So while that's installing via Yarn, the next step would be to configure the admin emails. So what I'm going to do is, while that's installing, I'm going to go ahead and open up the project in my code editor. And from here, we're going to go into the Lambda function that is kind of where the configuration is for the admin emails. So for right now, you actually have to go in and change this manually. I think for version 1, when it's out of beta, I'll probably enable this via the command line or something. But anyway, so you go into backend/function, the name of the function. And here we're going to go into add to group.js. So this is the admin emails array. So here you would set your administrator email. For me, that's dabbit3@gmail.com. If you wanted to update this to something else, you would just do that here. Right, so set your email there, and then you would save this file, and you'll be kind of ready to go to the next step. All right, so after the Yarn has finished installing, we're going to go ahead and run JAMstack init. So we'll go ahead and run yarn run JAMstack init. Here, we'll go ahead and initialize the backend for this project. So the first thing it's going to do is create a unique S3 bucket name, which is for storing images and files. I'll call this environment Twitch. We'll choose our default text editor, Visual Studio Code for me. Next, it's going to go ahead and prompt us for our AWS profile. So if you haven't done this yet, as far as configuring the profile, you'll see that there is a configuration step here for updating the Amplify CLI. That will also walk you through the initial configuration. And after that's done, you'll have a couple of profiles, or at least one profile to choose from. I'm just going to choose default for me, that's US East 1. And this is going to go ahead and begin the initialization of the backend. And then as this initialization happens, it's going to actually now prompt us for a couple of other choices. And this has to do with the Lambda triggers that are configured with this project, because essentially we need that admin access, that admin administrator kind of configuration going. So when someone that signs up to the app that is an admin, is one of those admins, we add them to the admin group so they can have access to the admin panel, which then will allow them to create, posts and things like that. So do you want to configure Lambda triggers? You choose yes. We're going to choose post confirmation. So this is basically after the person has confirmed their authentication status, we're going to trigger this Lambda function. I'm going to choose create your own module because we're going to choose the module that's already part of this project. And the name of the group is admin. And that's pretty much it. The next thing we're going to do is run yarn run JAMstack push. And this is going to go ahead and actually deploy the initialized backend that we have with all of these different resources. So you're going to see that we have auth for authentication. We have API. This is the GraphQL API. This is kind of where we source and configure and push all of the changes to the different things that are, this is like our backend pretty much. The API consists of the GraphQL API, the database, and all of the resolvers that go along with that. Then we have two Lambda functions that are part of this project. One is that post confirmation Lambda function. This function is actually what enables us to do the authentication and authorization properly for admins. And then we have an S3 trigger, which runs every time you upload an image, and this basically resizes the image if it's anywhere above 1,000 pixels or wider. And we do this for optimization reasons because we don't want to be serving massive images because this will slow down our site. You can actually configure this to be whatever width you would like. By default, it's 1,000 pixels. And then we have the storage, which is the S3 bucket, and this is where all of the images and files and things like that for the project are stored. All right, so while that, after we run that, you're going to see that this takes a while to configure and actually deploy. So we'll just kind of wait for a few minutes and see how long this is going to take to go ahead and deploy the back end. And then after this is done, we should be able to go ahead and test this thing out. All right, so after everything has been deployed, you should see something like this where you have update complete, generated all of the operations successfully, blah, blah, blah. And you should be ready to go. And to test out the backend locally, you can run amplify status. This will actually just kind of like check to make sure everything is deployed. And if it is, you'll see that you have your current environment and the operation should be set to no change. So now that the actual application's been deployed, the back end, the front end is kind of ready to go. We can go ahead and test it out by running yarn run JAMstack develop. And this will go ahead and do a couple of things. It will configure your API key into a separate file that is stored in gitignore because you don't want this file exposed anywhere. You don't even want it exposed in your live application. This is strictly for the build process. Then it'll create a separate config called the JAMstack config. This is the one that you'll actually be using at runtime. And this is for mainly for the admin access because this is going to be the configuration that allows you to kind of sign up, sign in, interact with the backend and things like that. And then after a couple of seconds, it should go ahead and serve up two endpoints. Just like a regular Gatsby site, it's going to go ahead and serve our front-end application, and it's also going to serve a GraphQL endpoint that we can then start interacting with the GraphQL items and things like that we have created, anything that we've stored in our database via GraphQL. So localhost 8000, this should go ahead and pull up the JAMstack CMS, and you'll be given something like this where we can edit the description and the settings, and then we have like a basic title here. And what we're going to do is we're going to go down here to the bottom of the page and click sign in and create an account. And I'm going to go ahead and create an account using the email address that we set up as an admin. All right, so that's my admin email. We should get a confirmation code now. For our MFA, and we'll go ahead and put that in here. And after we've been confirmed, we should be able to sign in. And one thing to notice is right now we only have 2 links at the top right corner. We have blog and we have about me. This is a static page that we've kind of hard-coded that you can change later. But you're going to notice that after you sign in as an admin, that there is an admin link that starts appearing at the top. So this will go ahead and automatically open up your profile page, which will just have your username, email, and your avatar. And if you'd like to set an avatar, you can go ahead and do that here. And this will also be the avatar that is built into all of your posts. And it'll reference any posts that you actually create yourself, and your username and avatar will be there. So if we go to admin, we'll see that we have our little admin panel here. So we can view the posts that we've created. We can create a new post. We can upload images. We can view pages that we've created. We can create new pages, and we can configure our settings. So the first thing that I think we might do is create a new post. So I'm going to go to dev.to, and I'm going to just take a post that I've already written. And we're just going to use this as the base of our post. So I'm going to go ahead and copy the title here, and we're going to go to new post, and I'm going to go ahead and post the title there. I'm going to paste the description here. And I'll just copy the content here. And I will go ahead and upload an image as the cover image here. And I'm going to actually point something out here. This image is 3,000 pixels wide, and we have a Lambda trigger that's actually going to resize this image. So let's go ahead and upload this 3,000 pixel wide image, and we're going to go ahead and let's go ahead and publish this post. And now what we're going to do is let's go ahead and view our media. And I think I might need to refresh this for now to go ahead and have that show up. And in the media, we want to go ahead and copy. Well, actually, let's go ahead and inspect this. And we're going to go ahead and get the link to this image, which is a signed image, by the way. This is a secure image. And we're going to go ahead and download it. And I'm going to go ahead and open this up in the Finder. And what we're going to notice is it's actually been resized. So let's go ahead and open this up. And if I expand this, well, let me actually open this up in something like Photoshop. So we can actually see the width. I thought it would maybe show up here, but I guess not. So if we look at the image size, we'll see that the size is 1,000 pixels. Also, if we look at the actual size here in the in my images here, we'll see that it is, let's see here, 720 KB, right? But if we go into the AWS console, I'm going to go ahead and open S3. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at this, this image that I just created or just uploaded. We're going to see that it is 106 KB. So basically, yeah, it just got resized without us having to do anything. Anyway, so that's just that. But if we go now to view posts, we'll see that we have this post. We can then edit the post just by clicking on it and then clicking edit. We can preview it here. We can generate a preview link. Say that we'd like to share this post with someone else, but we don't want to make it live yet. So maybe this is an unpublished post. We can actually just create a preview link, and then anyone that is, outside of this application can take a look at this post because it's dynamic. It's it's not to serve statically just yet. So let's go ahead and create one more post. And this post is going to be a unpublished post. And we're going to then run a build and see the difference between the published and unpublished. So I'll go ahead and paste in, all of the stuff for this post here. We'll go ahead and add maybe a cover image. And I'm going to go ahead and save this without publishing it. So we're just saving it. And you'll see that we have now, we have one post that is published and one post that isn't published. So if we go back to the front page, we'll see that nothing is here yet because this is basically what you'll see when you run a build. So let me go to admin though, and maybe update the settings to change the site description. And then what we're going to do is go back to the command line, and we're going to go ahead and run JAMstack develop again. And this is going to go ahead and run a new build. And we're going to see a couple of things different. First of all, next to this title here, we're going to actually see a picture of us because all of the different authors that have ever created a post, their avatars are going to kind of show up here in a list. We're also going to see any published posts that we have now show up on the front page. And that's kind of the two main things that you're going to see. So let's go ahead and wait for this to build. All right, so after the new build has completed, we should be able to refresh, and there we go. We see our post on the front page. And this is now a static post, but you'll see that if we're signed in as an admin, we'll still have the opportunity to edit the post. So because we're signed in as an admin, we see that. So if we sign out and we go here and we click on a post, it'll just appear like a regular post, right? So let's go ahead and sign back in as an admin. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create a new page. So this is going to be a web page. So I'm going to go ahead and just do like a little getting started guide. And what we're going to say is getting started with JAMstack CMS. We're going to set a little image here. I'll just use one of these clipped images. We're going to do some rich text. And then we're going to insert some code. And you'll notice that if you'd like to move things around, you can do that because it's like a drag and drop little thing going on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say npm install -g at AWS amplify /CLI. And I'm going to say anyway, I'll just do some basic rules there. We're just basically kind of showing how this works. We can then preview, what the page is going to look like. And then if we're ready to save it, we can just go ahead and click save. And we can view our pages here. And then if we're ready to actually publish this, which means next time we run a build, it'll be there, it'll actually be added to our navigation. So I'll go ahead and publish this. So we've published our page. We'll go now back to our posts, and maybe we'll go ahead and publish this post as well. So our post has now been published, so the next time we run a build, that's going to be there. And then maybe we want to change our settings a little bit. First of all, we might want to either increase the border, maybe we'll take the border off completely. We might change our theme to dark. And then now we're kind of ready to rebuild. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the command line, and we're going to run JAMstack develop. And before this is finished building, if I refresh, you're going to notice that the theme goes back to light. Or actually, since I actually cut the server off, it's not even there anymore. But before you run the build, if you haven't actually run a new build after you've changed your theme, it's actually not going to change on refresh. It's only going to change on rebuild. So now that we're rebuilding, our theme is going to be the dark theme. Okay, so I'll go back and I'll refresh. And there we go. We see our site is now up, and we see that we are now working on the dark theme. And we see that we have our 2 posts there because we've actually, run the build with the new post being published. And then we see that we now have a getting started link in the header. So we actually see our new page has been published here, getting started. And if we go to admin, we'll just see that we have, the getting started page there as well. So the last thing I think might be to kind of show the deploy button. And this is basically a webhook configuration. And all you would need to do would be go to wherever your build settings are for your hosting. So for instance, with Amplify console, I can go to build settings, and I can go ahead and create a webhook to trigger a new build on master. So after we've kind of built this, we deploy it, it's all working correctly. We push it up to GitHub, and then anytime we run a new push, we can either deploy it from there or we can actually use the webhook. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this webhook URL, just kind of a demo purpose only, really. And then I can run node configure webhook. And this is going to be built into the CLI a little better, but for now it's just a node command that's part of the project. But here you would enter your webhook URL, okay? And then you would just hit enter. And this is kind of the webhook that you would then have access to. So I should be able to go ahead and click deploy, and we should be able to kind of kick off a new build. So here I'm seeing successfully deployed new build, and I'm actually deploying a build of a different site. So I'm not even deploying a build of this site. This is again just kind of more of like a demo purpose, but yeah, if I go back to Amplify console and I go back to here, you'll see that a new build has been provisioned. So now we're kind of kicking off a new build process. So that's kind of about it. As far as JAMstack CMS goes, this is, I would say, a beta / proof of concept. Where I'm going with this, I'm not entirely sure. I know that I'm going to work on this until a V1 launch. And from there, I'm not sure what's going to happen. I'm either going to continue building this into something bigger, hopefully getting some contributors along the way, or I'm actually going to restart from scratch and rebuild this thing from the ground up. Because the idea is there. The implementation I'm not too sure of. I'm really happy with where it is now because you can actually get up and running and build stuff really great. But as far as configurable goes, I would like to make this thing pluggable for people to be able to use themes, really easily. I would like for people to be able to bring their own backend provider. I don't want this thing tied only with Amplify. I want this thing to be able to be used by anyone using any backend. So if you want to use Microsoft or Google or Netlify or whatever, that's kind of where I would like to go with this. And right now it's pretty closely tied with Amplify, even though I'm moving towards a provider type of plugin system where people can use a provider for each individual service. But at the moment, it is pretty closely tied with Amplify. But anyway, thanks for watching this. This is going up on YouTube as well. So if you weren't able to catch this live and you maybe missed the beginning of this, check on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel that's going up on that. So yeah, thanks for checking this out. And yeah, if you have any questions, hit me up on Twitter. I'm Dabbit3 on Twitter. I'd be happy to answer any questions.